Moving right along to item number 10, and that's the update on the SMAC social media access contract.
Oh.
Please step forward, state your name and your affiliation with the organization, affiliation with SMAC, and if you are a Stoughton resident, let us know where you left.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the rest of the board. I'm John Stagnoni, President of Stoughton Media Access Corporation. And with me tonight is our attorney, Attorney Joseph Zoppo.
Thank you. Welcome here tonight. Thank you. We've shared a lot of emails going back and forth.
14 pages or so.
Yeah. So if you could start off just reviewing the contract with us.
Sure.
Sorry about that. I'll get it, Joe.
Oh,
The preamble
oh, but we can't do it now because he's just, okay. You're ready now.
Terrific.
Thank you.
The preamble was updated, but we kept a lot of the language that was in the original agreement, and I had previously said a red line with this final agreement, and I'll just track it and explain the differences, or I can just answer any questions you had. Obviously, the Access Corporation is being designated by the municipality to provide PEG programming. The preamble explains that. It explains that it's done so under the cable contract or something that might supplant or supersede the cable contract, maybe streaming. It explains that the town of Stoughton is looking to participate in providing that PEG access by way of this access agreement with the Stoughton so-called Media Access Corporation, or SMAC for short, if I may. It describes in definitional form at the bottom of page 2 and carries over into 3 the various players and definitions of those players and documents in the contract, and I can go through them as well. Those largely were unchanged from the previous contract. Sorry about that. The designation contract, provision in Article 3 was changed to speak to the potential that maybe Comcast or a future PEG programming funding source would be other than cable TV. Again, speaking to the potential for streaming or another method of distribution of PEG programming. The term of the designation was to track provision later in the contract such that if there was not a default or uncured default in the contract, that it would continue. And that there was, of course, the opportunity for the issuer to continue the contract unless it's terminated for good cause, and that's explained in Article 8. The bottom of page 4 in Article 5 explains the operating rules and procedures, and largely that's unchanged, except we mentioned that the cooperation of Comcast, Verizon, or a successor licensee in that paragraph in terms of scheduling the public access channels and managing the facilities and equipment is up to SMAC, and that SMAC will promulgate and maintain a set of operating rules and procedures. That was not particularly changed. In Section 2, programming on the public access channels, unchanged. It's PEG programming, and the editorial discretion is up to the content providers. And it also provides that SMAC is not going to sell part of itself to anyone without offering it to the town of Stoughton first. And then any liability, license, or copyright fees associated with the program produced by SMAC, I think, is self-explanatory. It's the sole responsibility of SMAC. Coverage of local meetings is one of the charges. That's the public charge. And it explains that the SMAC will cover the meetings. It'll try, to the extent that it has the resources, for anything in addition to the meetings it now covers. The cooperation with the school department is the educational piece of it as well. And it's going to assist in the coverage of significant school events so that all the residents have news of that. Municipal government, like what's going on here, is being covered this evening, thankfully, and will continue to be so. And if there's additional programming that the town decides would like to be part of the programming based on available resources, that SMAC would like to help out as much as it can. The logs are still a requirement. The insurance at $1 million and $2 million is left unchanged, and the workers' comp is provided by Massachusetts statute.
Madam Chair, if I may, a question?
Sure.
Yes, Mr.
Just a real quick one. I'm looking at one here. Are we going to get one that shows the additions and the red lines?
Yes.
All right, we'll get that, because the one I'm looking at now is just black and white type, so.
Yes.
So, okay,
we will.
thank you. That's all I had a question. Thank you.
Well, I would like to, oh, you were going to say, Mr. Stagno, because I
Well-
was in reference to Mr. McCrisky's question. We did distribute a red line version.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that's what I
Mr.
was gonna
Stagno-
say. I
Oh,
thought
Okay, the latest one I opened, it's not redlined, so
Yep.
it,
Well, there was no other changes after the red line version that you had received.
okay, all right, so, all right.
I think
If it's already there, I'll look it up. I'm sorry.
I think it
didn't
was
see I just
September-
opened up the last one I had.
No problem. I think it was September 19th.
Okay,
It was
thank you.
Both of them. Okay, the indemnification provisions are unchanged. And of course, SMAC indemnifies the municipality in case of a problem. And SMAC itself indemnifies employees in case of a problem. And there's sort of a more complete description of what is being indemnified and the kinds of claims. There was two changes, in 8A, to include claims based on obscenity, civil rights. The rest of them are the same as they were in the original agreement. In Section 9, we tried to put a procedure that made sense to everyone. I think I did listen in on town council's comments on this, and we tried to make it very even-handed, but put in a rational procedure about auditing and reporting. We provided for tax extensions, which was previously not provided for. And of course, the municipality is invited to do a performance review, and then there's some periods of time, if there's a problem discovered, and a reference to Article 8 in handling it if there's a deficiency, breach, or default, that as a result of doing its annual audit or the financial report, that the town feels it would like to follow up on. We eliminated the editorial discretion because it seemed duplicative. We already have, there is already a provision about SMAC not being able to sell itself to anyone else without your approval. So, page 9, there really wasn't much in the way of changes. And that starts with section 11 at the bottom of 8, although on the clean copy, I'm not. Yeah, in the clean copy, it's a little further up, page 8. There isn't any amendment to bylaws without notice to the town, the issuing authority. SMAC has to maintain records equipment and an equipment inventory as it has. Access to the records as it's been is open to you folks at such reasonable times as you can agree upon in reasonable places, whether that's producing them here, emailing them, or however the information is agreeable to share. And then it seemed like a typo in 14. We replaced same with municipality because I think that actually was intended, but I think it just made it somewhat clearer. Reversion of property upon termination. Obviously, if SMAC is terminated, the property's public property and remains so. On renewal, we made it additional terms such that the agreement doesn't by itself terminate, sort of like registration in a car. It is self-extending unless and until there's a problem by way of audit, by way of breach, by way of default, which is dealt with in Article 8. And if the cure provisions are not complied with, or the town doesn't believe that those cure provisions are complied with, then there are liquidated damages, which are a non-exclusive remedy, and there's a calculation for them later. Filing a bankruptcy is an event of default. I'm just going to go to the clean copy for a moment because it's a little tough to read. Okay, so Article 7B, capital B, the designation for good cause shown can be pulled by the town. It's similar to C, but it's somewhat different in that C is drafted as a withdrawal of the designation rather than an expiration of the term or a termination of the agreement. But other than an expiration of the term, it seems to amount to the same thing. So we left that unchanged. Then determination of a breach and sanctions. Section 1 on page 10, about halfway down the paragraph, is pretty much unchanged, except that we qualify the breach as a material breach. It wasn't clear to us what an actionable breach was versus a material breach, so we just substituted a word to show that it was something substantial. I'm sorry. In the carryover paragraph, on the top of 11, in the clean copy, we're still on 10. We go through the procedure of the different kinds of breaches, whether there was a breach or whether there was not a breach, and then if there was a breach, there's a division between fault and no fault, a cure provision's given, and then the town has to decide, municipality has to decide, whether or not it's either waived or cured or not been sufficiently addressed. And then there's time limits in the following paragraph so that people aren't, neither the town, the select board is left hanging or SMAC as to a determination of whether those breaches have been adequately dealt with. The liquidated damages provision is not particularly changed, except that it runs, there's a definition now of when it begins, and it begins to run from the day of the notice of the municipality's determination of an election that there was a breach. Otherwise, it's very unclear when you'd start those liquidated damages, and they're substantial. So we wanted to clarify the start date. Article E refers back to, Section E of that article refers back to Section 1, just to make clear that we're talking about the breaches in Section 2. The funding and the annual support wasn't particularly changed, except that it captures something other than cable TV, another method of distribution of public access programming, and then just invoicing, which I think is unchanged, which is that it's the municipalities billed monthly in arrears, which I think is the practice now, if I'm not mistaken. And then it gives the option to the municipality of how it makes payment directly or through the municipality from the licensee. Then there's a provision for a cable advisory committee. We made it conditional because there doesn't seem to be one, and it could be SMAC, but that, of course, is up to you folks. So we made that clear. I think largely the rest of the article and the beginning of Article 12 are just clarifications of a word here or there, not substantive. Although if you read this and you have questions, I'm happy to speak to them. The construction just makes clear that it's a Massachusetts contract and is enforced in Massachusetts. The notice provision in Section 7 clarifies how notice is provided, and that it can be by overnight. You just need either SMAC or the municipality needs to have proof of delivery, so everybody's sure that the people that need to got notice, and it's the select board chair and the president of the of SMAC that the notice is. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. I can distribute red lines, or you can rely on the email of.
No, I could see it on the email. For some reason, it won't open here, but, Google, so I'll take a look at it. Yeah, no, I'll take a look at it after.
If I could, Madam Chair, I apologize. At the beginning, I forgot to introduce Attorney David Murphy is here. Also, our Treasurer, Stephen Bates, and our Clerk, Bob Mullen, is also here. And
Thank you
just
very much for that introduction.
Yeah, and just one thing, so on the contract where we talk about other possible funding, so things or whatever, if you remember before, I think I might have mentioned there's some pending legislation possibly about streaming, and that might be another source of revenue for the, for the corporation. So that's what we're trying to capture inside the agreement as well, just for clarification, if anybody wanted to know.
I'm going to take a minute just to go to another topic, because there seems to be some confusion regarding our consent agenda.
Okay.
If you are still in the audience, under the consent agenda, what was approved in totality was A through I, and that did include the one-day beer and wine permit for Immaculate Conception Church. I wanted to say that for those that have an interest. So you can go home and have a good night. So thank you very much. Now back to the issue at hand, the contract. To my fellow board members, did you have any questions regards to this contract? I see Mr. McCrisky has raised his hand.
Well, Madam Chair, I'd just like to get a lay of the land of what we're going to be doing here, because I have a ton of questions. SMAC is represented by 2 attorneys. It's a game changer for me. So I think we have to have some counsel here as well to go over, and they've made their proposal here, and I'll read that on the red line one, and we'll match it up against here. But I don't think it'd be appropriate to get into it all tonight, but I think a lot of it I would say, and I've said this before to a few people, that we could actually try to solve it on our own, but now we have two attorneys here, so I'm not going to get into anything tonight without an attorney here on behalf of our board. This is a game changer, so I don't think this board should be negotiating a contract that's represented by two attorneys, and we're here without one. So, so just to get the conversation going, I don't know what the process was supposed to be, but this is something I've done a lot of work on, and I think now would be the time to bring some of these things up in this process. And who knows? We might, iron something out in a couple days. Who knows? There's a lot of good information here. I want to see SMAC succeed, but just want to know what we're doing here, because we get.
Mr. McCrisky, to answer your question, the agenda item is the first time we as a board have reviewed and discussed to hear from SMAC what they are proposing to us.
Right.
But then moving on to Mr. Carrera, you had a question?
I'd just like to get a copy of the one that's got the red, that shows, I mean, I got the clean copy like you do.
I'll print it out for you, because I'll be printing one off myself. I'll make one
Right.
for you.
Thanks.
If there's any problem in doing that, we can send it again as well.
No, I see it here, but for some reason, it's not allowing me on the Surface Pro to open up the window. I see the attachment on September 19th. It just won't let me open it for some reason. So I'll go back to my office computer where it works the right way.
Download it first.
Exactly.
It might work better than double clicking on it.
And Madam Chair, I thought at the previous meeting, when you were talking about the Comcast license, they also had Attorney Hewitt here, and you asked him about this agreement and if he had any issues, and my recollection was he didn't have any issues with this agreement.
Well, he doesn't speak for our board, though.
Oh, well, okay, well, I'm just saying the board asked if he had any comment, if he had any.
But that wasn't what he was doing. He was representing us, as you know, on the agreement with Comcast. So
Okay.
he looked over it quickly, but
Okay, like I said, that's all, that was my
John,
recollection.
I'll tell you, I'll say it right here in front of everybody. If you wanted to sit and talk, we might be able to iron some of this stuff out.
Joe, we've been trying to do it for a year, honestly.
Well,
You know.
all right, we'll stop
So-
there, because
yeah.
you haven't, so let's just stop right there. So,
Joe,
okay.
it started when you were the chair
Yeah.
over a year ago.
Yeah.
When
Okay,
when we
Joe.
brought it forward, so.
Let's stop there. I think
Yep.
it's best. All right.
Mr. Gito, did you have any comment, or do my fellow board members have a response to Mr. McCrisky? Okay. I think do we have any questions? We have Mr. Stagnone and the attorneys here. Do you have any questions? I have one major question, and this would be to you and to the board, but we'll see what my fellow board members want to address first. Nothing? Okay. So
The only thing that I would say is that, going back to what Mr. Stagnone said, I was of the opinion that this was pretty much ironed out. Not that it was the beginning of another lengthy process, which has been going on for a long, long time. So that's my only comment, and I presume it's going to go on for a while longer.
my question is regarding the Cable Advisory Committee. So it was mentioned on page 3, and then again on page 12. When this was written into the agreement, or what was your vision of that? So that's from your perspective, but I'm sure the Select Board has a different idea, and we want to talk
Madam
about this
Chair,
a little bit more.
If I can, for clarification, the Cable TV Advisory Committee was not an arm of SMAC. It was an arm of the town of Stoughton. It was basically, as Mr. Stagnone is well aware, it was Cable TV Advisory served at the Board of Selectmen's wish and it was for renewing contracts and just cable TV issues that it pertained to the town of Stoughton. And I think it was the right decision when we allowed SMAC to get involved with the negotiation. It made sense because they're running the cable TV access, system. It made sense to have them involved with that. I don't know if it went as fast as even John would have liked it, but it didn't go as fast as it should have. So that really for SMAC to be dictating what the Cable TV Advisory Committee does, what I think, since we're just an idea at this point, is that we should utilize the Cable TV Advisory Committee to work between the Board of Selectmen and SMAC to make sure that they're adhering to everything in their bylaws, in their personnel agreements, and their media access agreements, all that stuff, to make sure that everything in their bylaws is being, completed. And that might be something we want to, but again, right now, that's just an idea topping off my head, and maybe that's how we want to do something like that, to establish a better line of communication. So that's where it was. It's not an arm that SMAC would control that. And in the conversation, if anything, they should be just recognizing that the Select Board has the authority to implement a Cable TV Advisory Committee, which we still have. I don't think there's any active members right now, but we still have it on the books. So.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, and that's exactly what this agreement is recognizing that could be a Cable Advisory Committee. And as Mr. McCrisky had indicated, currently a previous board abolished the committee. Basically, there was no work assigned to them and or guidance given to them. So actually, when I was on it, we all resigned at the exact same time. The board just resigned, and then a few years later, it was abolished because there was really no members left.
In terms of the, if I may, in terms of the revisions to the agreement, the existing agreement said that there was one. Mm-hmm. So we just revised it to say that there isn't one, but there might be one in the future, and it could be SMAC, it could be anyone else you folks choose. Right. That's really the intent of the revisions, and happy as I was when I emailed it to go over it with whoever the town would like it gone over with or handled however else you'd like.
Okay. At this time, do the board members have any questions? Okay. So there will not be a motion to accept this agreement tonight. So.
Okay, and thank you very much for everybody. And again, if you have additional questions down the road, we're always here to answer them. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for your time. You have my contact information.
Do we have any sense of when we're going to meet on this again?
So I will arrange a meeting, probably our upcoming select board meeting, to have our attorney here so we can discuss the contract, and then with my fellow board members. So let's try to put that on the agenda for in the next 2 weeks. And then go from there. This might be a step-by-step. Okay, we're back on item number 11, which is Stoughton Media Access Board openings. There are two-year openings. The applicants are Stephen Bates, Robert Mullen, Peter Brown, and Joe Soares. Does anyone want to take the lead on that? Those two applicants. Well, let's call them up one at a time and talk a little bit about your background and develop a process. We could take the process of each board member recommending one applicant and go and approach it that way? Are you in agreement to that? Or what other way do you want to finalize the two open seats?
Why don't we,
All righty.
what's that, Lou?
I said, why don't we do it the same way we've done the others?
Yeah, just call them up in the order that they're listed on the sheet, let them speak, and then go from there,
Take
right?
nominations from there.
All righty. The first is Stephen Bates. Would you approach the table, state your name and address, please? Hello and welcome.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
That's good. My name is Steve Bates. I've lived in Stoughton my whole life, 55 years. I own 2 successful companies. I've been self-employed for 32 years. I'm an original board member of SMAC for close to over 13 years now. We've successfully taken a company with no money to quite a bit of money. I'm not exactly sure what's going on right now. There seems to be a lot of animosity. I don't know why. I'm not sure. I came tonight actually to potentially withdraw my vote, but I think I'm going to stick in there. I'm not sure if we should even be talking about it right now. If we don't have a contract, should we even be picking a board member?
Well, from what I understand, I did talk with Town Council Brian Winter, and he indicated that the contract that is in existence is in effect until we accept a new agreement.
Okay.
So yes, I haven't heard otherwise, so I think we do have an agreement in effect. And I'm glad you're not withdrawing your name.
So we've been around for over 13 years now. We have a meeting every month. We have an annual meeting in front of you guys every year. So doing a little bit of quick math, we've had 150 plus or minus meetings. Not one selectman has ever come to a meeting. And tonight we're hearing if we could just sit down and talk. Why didn't anybody come? All of you guys have my cell phone number. Why didn't somebody call me and say, Batesy, can we meet at Dunkin' Donuts, or can we go have a coffee? Could we even talk? Not one person said it, but now it seems that there's a drive on this board to cause problems. I don't understand. You wonder why nobody wants to volunteer. I can see why. We built a successful cable studio. It's the best one in the area. We have a lot of volunteers. We managed a cable studio through COVID. Not one employee lost their job, but yet there's a problem. I don't know where the problem is. So I'm willing to stick around for 2 more years. If you want to keep me, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay too. It's a non-paying job. I've done, you're going to need a new studio in probably 2 years. Our lease is going to expire. You know, when we built the studio, we couldn't afford it. And I GC'd it for free and saved the town over $200,000. So somebody, either you got to save a lot more money or something has to happen. I don't know. And that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Any comment?
I have a question.
Question?
And I'll make this document available to the secretary to be reprinted, where I'm going to ask from this. A while back, this is dated July 14th, 2020, was a report written by Stoughton resident Mark Hausman that was paid for by SMAC. And on page 2, Article 4, it says, the duties and officers should be updated since the president has taken over the treasurer financial responsibility of the funding of the operating account. Are you the treasurer?
Yep.
Did you give up your responsibility to the president?
No.
You did not? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying no.
Okay, so why is it in the report that SMAC paid for from the consultant saying, and I'll repeat it, the duties of officers should be updated since the president has taken over from the treasurer the financial responsibility of funding the operating account?
Funding the operating account just means transferring money around, okay? We have a policy in place that when anything gets paid from SMAC, it gets paid every month at the meeting. If there's money to get transferred one way or the other, or if, I could be working anywhere from the Cape to Gloucester. If John, the president, works in town. So if a check needs to be signed, we both have check writing privileges, okay? Nothing gets paid unless unless all 5 board members approve it. So there's way more than 2 safety steps in place. And I told you this before.
You didn't tell me that before.
We did. I
You
did
did
tell you
not.
this.
The only time we spoke about this when I talked with you in Bob's Food Mart parking lot,
And what about-
you didn't want to talk about it.
No, that's not true. And what about at Bill's Detailing? I told you the same thing then.
No, I don't recall you saying that to me.
Well,
And what you
And
gave
again-
that answer does not go with what this says.
That's right.
Okay, so
That's
why
right.
didn't, if that's not true, it sounds like you're saying it's not true.
It's not.
Okay, why didn't SMAC argue it and reply to it? To say that, he didn't know what he was talking about? Why was this report
There's a
left?
lot of things in that report that we didn't agree with, and we told them that, and when we had the meeting afterwards with the executive directors at the time, it was the same thing. We made a lot of changes from when that report came out, because I think you'll see that one of the things was that the executive director thought we were micromanaging them.
All right, well, I asked for any of those in an email to the president of SMAC of anything that was changed as a result of this. I didn't receive any. Okay, so.
Change of what?
Any changes as a result of this report? Any changes that were taken? Any corrective action plan, I believe was my wording. And I got nothing to say that you folks have addressed this. You paid for it. There's nothing in your minutes that reflect any conversation in executive session. I have 5 years of your minutes that I went through, and I looked for those. The only thing I saw was basically the quickest hurry pay job, and somebody was sent with a message to Mr. Hausman to thank him for his service with a check.
We hurried them off, is that what you said?
I didn't say, I said it was the hurriest process I saw. The report was written, he got his check, and he was thanked by, I believe, the station manager. Okay, so
Because
there's
he was done.
nothing
He
that
wrote-
refers.
He wrote a report.
He wrote the report,
Wrote the
and
report. We
if you've
accepted
got
the
minutes
report.
that show, your executive session minutes, if you've got minutes that show you spoke about this and what you were going to do, they weren't in the minutes I was provided with, because I looked at 5 years of all your minutes. I've got them in a spreadsheet. I went through every one of them looking for items like this, just to be able to be fair. I can't find them, so that's why I'm asking the question. This states something different, that there's no evidence that anybody at SMAC has talked about.
Well, I mean, I think if we went through the selectmen's minutes, there's not there are a synopsis of what it was. I'm sure that there's something in the minutes that said, we've received the report from Mr. Hausman, and we've reviewed it, and we'll go over, I don't know exactly what the wording was, but I can tell you personally that there were changes made.
Okay, I'd like to see those changes.
Well, the changes you'd have, the changes were about management style, is what
Okay.
it was about.
Well, again, and this is where I guess we're getting beyond, where we'll be. This will go and we'll address this between our lawyers, is what we're going to have to do.
Well, you can come to the next meeting.
So, well, listen, I didn't know where the meetings were. They get posted in the lobby, and there's no agenda. There's nothing on SMAC to tell when there's a members meeting. You don't have membership, okay? So you don't have membership. You don't have membership. You're now, thankfully, and I applaud you, that you're going after. It's not in your minutes.
We had membership, okay? There was a thing called COVID for 2 years.
Yeah?
We didn't have membership for 2 years.
Okay. You didn't have for 2 years, but where was 17, 18, and 19?
We've had membership all those times.
Well, I'll tell you, when we go over this, I'll make it, it'll be out there, because I've gone through it and I've got it. And when your meetings were there, it says no citizens' participation, no members. Nobody was there.
Nobody showed up to a meeting except just recently when someone's making it political. That's it, Joe.
Okay, so where are the members? I asked for a membership list. I was told by the president, we don't have one.
Right now, there's no members because we've had COVID for 2 years. We couldn't let anybody.
Tell me give me the membership list for 2020 back to 2017. Okay? Because I have the answer from the president, so they don't have it. They were looking for it, and they're all documented. These answers are all documented.
So that's what the problem is.
One, in my opinion. Well, I guess you don't think the ratepayers should have any representation on the board.
What's that?
If you laugh when I'm talking about membership, which in your operating procedures, it mentions members or membership over 90 times, but there's no membership list. In your bylaws, it mentions members or membership. In your program guide on the people that come in, it talks about boards of directors and membership. Not one membership list from 2017 to 2021 was provided, not one.
You know, we had six or seven members since the inception, and we were always the board of directors, and one or two strikers. That's the list.
Well, you just told me you had members. That's your membership list?
Right now, we've got, I don't know what the latest was as of yesterday, we've got about 50 members. And I wonder why that is.
Yeah, because people want to join, and they want to make sure something's going on. At least it's membership. And there's people from both sides of people that represent people. I joined for $25. You know, maybe I can see what's going on. You know, so it's good. It's people. It's a good thing. Membership, the ratepayers who are paying to fund SMAC, is a good thing for them to see what's going on.
It is a good thing, but what I'm trying to say is for 12 years, it's never a problem. And now all of a sudden it's a problem. For 12 years, we've got 5 or 6 members.
Yeah, well,
Now all of a sudden we get 50.
yeah, well, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
That's a good thing. So I'm going to chalk this up. I guess, you know, it's a difference of opinion, so we'll handle it from there. There's a lot more in this report, and again, I asked for any corrective action. Got nothing. So, you know, I don't take this report, knowing Mr. Hausman is a respected member of this community. You know, I mean, I'm going to take him at his word, and I have no document. Nothing that's said to me from anybody at SMAC is that we didn't agree with that. We didn't even address it. You know, and there was nothing. So this was hung out just to sit there, and why would I not have questions?
I don't blame you for the question. But one of my points is that we've had a meeting in 12 years. And you never showed up.
It's not my job to show up.
Yeah, but
It's not my job to show up. You have a contract with the town. You meet the contract with the town. If you're not doing what your bylaws, your own bylaws say you'll do, then when it comes here, I'm going to have questions. You know, I mean, in 12 years, I'll tell you, you may not want to say that comment and have it, because I went through each and every set of meeting minutes that was sent to me by your president. And I think you had maybe in that time frame 35 people show up at meetings. It's all here. It's from 2017 to 2021. All right, so that's there, and their names are there. I took the names out, and I put it in the attendees list. You said some of them, Roy Cohen was there, Joe Soers was there, some people, you know, there was I forget the minister's name that was there, people that do some shows. You know, they're there. They're in your minutes.
the time they show up is at the annual meeting, and we go over finances, and that's it.
No, there were some meetings other there, and there were people there, you know, a couple. There were different issues. You know, there was a couple of people showed up when somebody was up for a raise, and they spoke on the person's behalf, you know, things like that, you know, but again, so.
Somebody would like you to check the mic and make sure that's working.
So, okay. That's my only question. I'm all set.
Okay, so, Mr. Bates, you are the current treasurer of SMAC, and so I'm all set, just to restate that. Thank you very much, and I'm glad you didn't remove your name from the list. The next is Bob Mullins on the list. Hello, Mr. Mullins. Please state your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Bob Mullen, and I'm the current clerk of the Stoughton Media Access Corporation. I do ask to be, if you consider reappointing me, because I believe I can still make a difference. And plus, I've been doing a lot of listening. I've been listening to the board meetings, listening to a lot of statements by the select board members, people that come to our meetings, and the residents of this town. And obviously, listening is very important, and communication from SMAC, obviously, you have to admit, we need to improve it, because we're not getting the word out. We're doing a lot of things up there, we're just not getting the word out. Communication is very important, we have to improve upon that. We just recently got the agenda posted on the town website. The last couple of meetings are posted. We will make improvements as we keep moving forward in the future. Progress takes a little time, but we are making the progress. We just have to speed up the process to make that progress. I do pledge that we'll continue to make progress if you reappoint me. One of 5 people, obviously, like this Board of Selectmen, I'm one of 5. I'm not a dictator. Just because I have from time to time, things just change, it takes a little bit of time. So you have to be with us a little bit. I think SMAC, the location of it, the studio, there's none better in this area of the state, except probably Boston. We have a very good studio. You have to. I admit that. I'm happy with that. I think the town should be proud of that. I know when residents come up, they're amazed what goes on there. From a small group of people that work there, that we hire, professionals, we produce some good quality output. I know we had some problems in this great hall here from audio and visual technicalities. They've been resolved, I believe. We're always buying new equipment. It's like your home computer. Things do break down. Even cell phones get replaced every couple of years. When it goes, it's when you least expect it. And that's the same thing that happens with any piece of technology, whether it's a cell phone, your home TV, or the computers in the room over here, and that little studio over there. So, things do happen. It's not perfection, but it's pretty close to it. So I think, with communications, going back to communication, I think SMAC, we just have to improve our communications to the residents, to this select board, to the school committee. And we always want to hear, we probably should have regular meetings with this board, at least a few times a year. I think it's probably important to communicate. And also with the school committee. We do, obviously, there's a studio over at the schools, and we communicate with the people over there quite regularly. And we do provide some equipment updates over there, too. So there's a lot going on. We're just not communicating what's going on. So on behalf of the board, I do apologize for that because I'm one of the board members, but I'm looking to improve that communication. And obviously, the door's always open, 10 to 6 down there at the studio, 421 Page Street. So come on down and take a visit. We welcome everybody there. If I can answer any questions, I'd be more than happy to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Do you have any questions?
Just
McCrisky.
not a question, just a comment. Bob mentioned, and I think it's important to note, when he mentioned the communications in the building here, I don't know how many times, John, if I may, how many times do you think you've been called about the audio system in Town Hall?
Well, I don't get the calls, the station manager does.
Okay, well, roughly, how many calls do you think you got? 2, 3 dozen? More?
I don't know if we got that many, but there was audio issues, it was mostly because of the virtual meetings.
Yeah.
That's, technology has changed. When we first got the price tag, it was $60,000 to do it, and we just recently got the technology increased, and as we're doing this, we actually were able to do it for $20,000 and shouldn't have fixed it all. But
Yeah.
it's all just related to virtual meetings more than anything else.
Right, and I believe you spent $30,000 before that as well. It was in your minutes. That's why.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with the audio, that just had to do with outdated equipment that
Right.
was no longer
Well-
compatible, and the upgrades were way too, they weren't supporting the upgrades.
Okay. Yeah, no, all right, so it just, all the times it's been mentioned, I just think it should be noted that when I was going through the 5 years of minutes, there was a lot of talk about the audio system in this building. So that should be known, that sometimes we sit here and we listen to other people say that it's happening, and you don't know if it's happening, but, it was out there, and I got to say that I think it was probably 10 different times that in the minutes of the meetings, that was discussed. So I just wanted to, it's been something that, it's been here a lot, and, and SMAC did make a yeoman's effort to make an improvement in that area. So.
But I'd like just to add to that, if I may. You know, we have the technicians, professionals come in and assess the situation. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Like any technology, it takes a little bit. It might have taken a little longer than we wanted, but we certainly put a great effort into it. And don't forget, Zoom was even a common household word before the pandemic. And now everybody's Zooming, everybody's Google Meets. I mean, the technology in the last 2 years has changed tremendously, you know, in the last 2 or 3 years. So, I mean, I think tonight we're in a better place. We're moving forward. And the technology might change tomorrow. We don't know. I mean, it just happens overnight. And again, with Zoom and the pandemic, the world has changed with technology, you know, and it will continue to change, but that's the way the technology is. So I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm just saying technology, when a circuit board breaks or it doesn't work anymore, you don't know. There's nothing flashes until things break down. And it just shows you how important this process is to communicate back and forth, and also that we do make the changes. We spend the money where needed, and I think tonight it's working pretty well. I know, but no, we put some more money into the place, and we continue to put money into the building here in that room over there. So, I mean, you know, sometimes your cell phone, you just bought it and there's problems with it. I mean, that's technology. Anyways, I'll stop right there. Any other questions? I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. I don't think we have any questions. Mr. Scardino, I think you have a comment?
I'm not commenting on Mr. Mullins, but I just had a member of the public text me and say that there were problems with the audio reception. Sorry.
Mr. Zamani, I would like to check the hand raised, and he would like, he said he has a technical point to make.
A technical point he can't hear? Oh. Does it work? Thank you so much, Mr. Mullins. You've been very thorough, and you have an auditing background, right?
Yes, well, I'm a retired certified internal auditor, and I've been working for your friendly, well, I'm retired now from the state, but I worked for your friendly Department of Revenue for over 30 years. Doing some tax work and working on large computer tax databases.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just like to help everybody a little more tonight.
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
service, Bob.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next on our list is Peter Brown. Would you step forward, Mr. Brown, and state your name and your address, please? And I didn't forget about Mr. Zamanian, but I'm trying to move quickly through this process.
Madam, I can understand that, but I'd like you to consider the fact that the public watching this cannot hear if somebody does not have a mic in their hand.
Oh, okay, thank you, Mr. Zamanian. So please...
We're only getting half of the conversation. It's very frustrating from us at home.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Can you please... Can you turn the mic on and then pull it close? Mr. Zamanian, can you hear me? So that's either yes or no.
Madam Chairman, he couldn't hear John Stagnone in the back of the room
Oh, in the
because
back.
John didn't have a microphone.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gito. That's my point. If somebody's going to go back and forth with one of the select board members, they need to have a microphone in their hands so the rest of us can hear what's being said.
Thank you so much. What we'll do, if someone from the audience has a comment, we'll just call them to the front so they can get a microphone. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Mr. Zamanian. Take care. Yeah, this is supposed to be green, Mr. Brown. Please state your name and your address, and then hold that microphone pretty close. And,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, honorable members of the Select Board. Thank you for your time and this opportunity. My name is Peter Brown. I live on Chapman Road. I have been for about 29 years. I'm currently a town meeting member. I have been for at least 6 terms. I've spent 4 years on FinCom, the fifth year, I went on to the select board for a little bit, and that's why I left FinCom, but I still do have 5 active years left if I ever decide to move in that direction again. I'm presently on the Charter Review Commission as a moderator's appointment. I'm a dues-paying member of Stoughton Media Access. I have been since 2011. I participated in their training. I went through their training 6-week program every Tuesday for 6 weeks in a row, and the training's rigorous, and it's difficult to catch on to immediately, but you work at it, you can get some skills. I am currently a producer at Stoughton Media Access. I do a local show called Left, Right, Center. Its purpose is purely entertainment. Opinions vary from one person to another, there's 3 members of us. But I'm interested in becoming a SMAC for a number of reasons, but in my full-time, my profession, I was a lieutenant with the Massachusetts Department of Correction. I was an operations lieutenant. I ended my career at MCI Norfolk, and I spent a number of years as an administrative lieutenant working on policies, procedures, post orders, emergency files, and any type of administrative duty you can think of, in addition to running shifts with a staff of 100 and a number of inmates. 1,200 inmates, I think was my last count when I left. I'm looking to join SMAC because I believe I got some fresh ideas. I've been in and around there. It's a tremendous place, great resource. The studio is second to none. I go in there as much as I can when I can. I also do some other stuff on the side, but I'm looking to join the board. I have been for a little while now, and this is an opportunity, so I come before you tonight to kind of pitch where I stand. I have some ideas. I don't know if you want me to share with you at this point or not. Maybe it's not a great idea to do that, but I have some connections at Northeastern University where I graduated, got my BS in criminal justice. Nobody knows the year, and I don't think I'm going to share that anyways, but my intention is to try to reach out, grow the membership. There's a push now. I think there's 40-something people have joined. People are interested. I don't know why you'd say they're interested. I can imagine something to do with an upcoming election. I do have a lot of ideas in terms of like innovation and programs. I don't think we're not getting enough out of SMAC right now. We got to get more people in there to do shows, and whether that's through recruitment process or reaching out to stakeholders or whoever that may be, schools. My connection at NU is with some music people. I'd like to see if we can get them to get involved, and maybe partnership with some colleges, and who knows what kind of opportunity that could be. It could be anywhere from just having a regular NU students or even the high school students come in to, growing it to who knows where. I do want to thank you for your time. I look forward to this opportunity. Again, I know there's only 2 appointments, and it's a difficult decision for you. You'll have to make that. I don't wish that upon you, I guess, but I'll open it to questions if anyone has anything they want to ask me. Because I don't want to, if you want to hit the buzzer to stop me from talking, that might be a good idea.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? I'm asking my fellow board members.
Yeah, sure.
Vice Chair Cavey.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, it's always a pleasure to see you, and I hope you're doing well. Sorry, let me get this a little closer. I was just saying it's always a pleasure to see you, and I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to know, you're interested in a position. We have 2 incumbents here who are interested in positions as well. I'd just like to hear about maybe some specifics about things you'd like to do differently. I know you've just went over a couple.
Yes.
But I was wondering, organizationally, are there things that you would want to do differently?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. First off, I believe is you got to get the membership involved. And one of the things that SMAC hasn't done well, and I'm not picking on any individuals, they don't get people into the meetings. And part of that reason is they don't do a good job at promoting SMAC in terms of on web pages and things. I know they just got one up and running. The agenda usually only appears up at the town hall. Quite frank, I don't have time to come to the town hall to look at agenda. So I think the first idea would be to build a web page, or to expand upon the web page that's currently in place, and to have somebody work on that regularly, to bring up to speed what's going on. Post the agendas, post the minutes. I like to know what's going on with my local government. I'm just interested in that. I'd like to start a campaign to bring in new people to do shows, and unfortunately, I can only name 3 or 4 shows, and I'm one of them that are regularly doing shows. The staff, they have, I would say, somewhat adequate staff. I'd like to see more people get in there, whether it be through volunteers or even paid. I don't know any of their finances. I don't pretend to know that. I think we could advertise a little better, even along the bottom of the cable television. We can stroll around there. I go into different facilities and, restaurants and things, and I have on the part of our show, I begin and we call it Pete's Pantry, and we'll try a different slice of pizza or a sandwich or something like that. And not that we endorse the restaurant or not. We don't get any for it. We're not taking any money changing or getting free food or anything like that. That's one way we get the word out. I know we just did runners, and they were very happy, and they said their business has been doing great. So hopefully we had something to do with that. Seminars, I think getting out there and maybe holding some seminars at schools, colleges I'm talking about. Just a million of opportunities in that way. But I think the biggest way to do that is by communicating it. And the only way you can do that, there's a million social media accounts, TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. I'm not a member of any. I think I've been banned on all of them anyway, so no, this is just a joke. It's a joke.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Okay,
no
thank you.
questions from me.
I just want to end with, though, if you do elect to confirm me, I promise I will do the best I can to give the ratepayers the best in quality service they deserve. We all do. And then that's just from my perspective. It's no knock on any other board. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Mr. Soares in the room or online? Joe Soares. Ms. LeBlanc, do you know if he's still interested, or did he? We didn't hear back. Okay. So he applied, so whether he's here or not, let's consider him. So or you recommend in a process that each board member makes a recommendation. We have 2 open seats, 2 open positions for 2 years. So we can do a round robin and each board member make one recommendation, and then we continue that process until we fill that one position, and then we'll do the next one. Does that approach work for everyone? Okay, thank you. So I'll just...
We have 3 people applying for 2 positions, or 4 people, one who's not here.
We have 4 people applying, just one
Right,
is not here.
Okay.
2 positions. You have a recommendation?
Well, we...
For the first position,
Yeah, I would nominate Steve Bates.
Mr. McCrisky.
Nominate Bob Mullen.
Vice Chair Cavey.
I would also nominate Bob Mullen. I think we're out of people.
Mr. Carrera.
Peter Brown.
This was a very tough decision because we have 2 incumbents, both have finance backgrounds. We have Mr. Bates with the treasurer position, and then we have Mr. Mullins, that's the clerk. So it was a tough choice, but I think that SMAC really needs that treasurer in the position, so I will nominate Stephen Bates.
Okay, so we call for a motion. There's
Yes.
2 people.
Did someone?
There's been 2 people with 2 votes each.
Okay, and that is Mr. Bates and Mr. Mullins.
Right.
Okay, so then let's do a round robin again, so we can get it to one person to fill one seat. I'll start. Were you going to say something, Mr. McCrisky?
So,
No, this is,
Go ahead.
I don't know why we just don't take the nominations of everybody and then take a final vote.
Okay, we can do that, too.
Everybody votes, and
Okay.
the names are all out there. There they are. Just
So we have three
you start with,
three nominations, and we should vote on one of those three people. at this
Right.
point.
Okay. Okay. Who wants to start? Vice Chair Cavey.
So, yeah, my vote will be for Mr. Mullen.
Mr. Carrara?
this is for one seat, right?
This is for one seat.
I cast for Mr. Mullen, too.
Mr. McCrisky?
Mr. Mullen?
Mr. Gito?
Mr. Bates.
And I vote for Mr. Mullen. And for the second seat,
Mr. Bates.
Mr. Brown?
Vice Chair Cavey?
Yeah, either. It would be fine at this point. So I'm happy with those two people being nominated.
What
still have to
was
vote.
the second?
We still have to vote, and so I go with those two.
I'm confused now.
We're just nominating right now. Is there
We're just
anybody
nominating.
who would you nominate?
Mr. Carrara said he nominated Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
And you nominated, so we went through our nominating process.
Correct, yeah.
And then
So
we narrowed it
I'll
down.
nominate Mr. Bates, but he'd already been nominated, so there's really no purpose for,
Right, so
So
two
we might
people
as well
now.
just call the next vote.
This is for the vote between Mr. Bates and Mr. Brown.
Right.
May I say why I would vote for Mr. Bates?
Yes.
Mr. Bates indicated the last time when the wonderful studio was constructed, he was the general contractor or overseer of the work for nothing on that project. And SMAC is going to have to go through another process, probably within a couple of years at the very latest, because another company has bought that building and is likely to expand. My sense is that that organization could very strongly use somebody with his skills. And I think it would be wise for the town to recognize that.
Thank you, Mr. Gito. So let's make a motion and finalize.
The motions have been made.
And was it second?
Yeah. So it's just calling the votes on the two candidates.
yep. Just go around and name our candidate. I'll start with Mr. Bates.
Mr. Carrara?
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Gito?
Mr. Bates.
And Mr. McCrisky?
Mr. Brown?
And I vote for Mr. Bates.
So
We have two people.
two people.